This is Singapore, one of the richest and safest countries in the world, but under all of this lies a strict set of laws. When I was with my Singaporean friends, they told me that you can get the death penalty for trafficking weed. This was very surprising to me, and that's when I started researching why is this tiny country so strict. Singapore is a small city-state of 6 million people located between Indonesia and Malaysia. You've probably heard of the wealth of the country and might have seen headlines of the crazy laws like the banning of chewing gum. But why is there this obsession with laws, and does it actually work? But to understand today, we need to go straight back to 1945. When the Second World War ended, Singapore came under British rule. This lasted for a while, but in 1959, Lee Kuan Yew became the first Prime Minister of Singapore. The country merged with Malaysia in 1963, but this only lasted 2 years due to tensions. After this, the whole country was in ruins. There was a big housing crisis, unemployment, and crime was rampant. The whole situation was chaotic. To combat the chaos, Lee's government decided to implement strict laws. Society then stabilized and became based on rules and discipline. The government continued to implement new rules for emerging crises, like in the 1970s, when the streets were extremely dirty, a new set of laws had been implemented to keep them clean. One of the most famous of these laws is the anti-spitting law. As the city kept advancing, new laws kept being implemented. We can see this in the ban of chewing gum in 1992, because 5 years before Singapore had its largest public project, the building of MRT, which is the Mass Rapid Transit, a railway system that costed $5 billion. And the problem was that vendors kept sticking gum to the doors of this new railway system and causing millions of dollars worth of damage. So the government responded with this new law. These strict laws mean that today Singaporeans value order greatly. Singapore is a very rule-following country. Discipline is a core value and it's being enforced both at home and in the government by caning. This is a questionable method, but it's applied in more than 30 offenses, one of them being vandalism. Basically, the severity of the crime equals to the amount of strikes. But this learned discipline means that people trust the system and expect themselves and others to behave correctly. So with all these strict laws, the question is, does it actually work? Well, Singapore consistently ranks as one of the safest countries in the world, and the crime rates are extremely low. The city is known for being very clean, and it has become one of the major business hubs in the world. This can be in part attributed to the laws that build discipline. But these strict rules don't just create control, they build a system that people can trust. That's why public places are clean and efficient, businesses trust the system, and people feel safe walking alone at night. But there's trade-offs that come with this. Obviously, there's strong government control and less personal freedom in some areas. But this social contract works for the country. There are certain restrictions, but a high quality of life. And that's what makes Singapore interesting. It's not just strict, it's intentionally designed that way. So after diving into this topic, I realized that strict rules are not necessarily bad, and Singapore is a great example of this. Laws create order, stability, and opportunity. Although in some aspects there's less freedom in Singapore compared to the West, but it's still one of the richest countries in the world. In this country we can see that strictness works when it's consistent and fair. So Singapore isn't just strict, it's a whole society built on laws and an economic miracle.